Hypnotherapist Sean Wheeler in studio with us, and on the phone is Daniel and Morgan. They are engaged to each other, and I think the original contact came from Morgan and said that Daniel admittedly is addicted to gaming. Like, he plays a lot of video games, computer games, and it's excessive, and they're going to start their life together, and they don't want that to be a part of their life. This is, I think, a part of the original call when they were on with us.
I think the reason that it lulled me in so easily was I lost my mom whenever I was 11, so that was a big deal. And the game didn't, it took away that thought, and I didn't really have to think about it, her not being there as much.
Sure.
So how many hours a day are you spending now?
Anywhere from 4 to 7. It really just depends on the day of the week and what time I get off work.
And what do you play?
Call of Duty, Halo, and World of Warcraft mostly.
So Daniel and Morgan are joining us again now.
I think the most important thing to point out, too, is that Daniel, he wants to make this change. Like, this is not his fiancée forcing him to do this. This is something that he accepts, he acknowledges, and he's ready to make a change in his own life.
Hey, Daniel.
How's it going?
Thanks for coming back to the Bert Show. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Okay, and Morgan's here as well. Hey, Morgan.
Hey.
So we're interested to find out about.
Morgan's like, hey.
Yeah, I was trying to read her tone of voice right there. So we're excited to find out about how this whole thing went. So Sean, tell us, you met Daniel in person, right?
That's right. They both came, actually, and they both sat down in my office. So I was able to talk to both of them, and really I got to know them a little bit better than I did on the show, which is kind of an important thing because, seeing them sitting there together, you could see that they were on the same team. This wasn't like her trying to force him to do anything against his will. She was very much there in support of him. He was comfortable with her being there. And I was able to talk to them as a couple and find out that they shared the same goals.
And the goal was to at least just reduce some of his gaming.
Yeah, it was.
Right?
It was, and one of these clips I think that we're going to play from the session is going to speak to that, which is that I didn't tell him, you got to quit video games completely. It's just that there needs to be a shift in your priorities, and he was totally on board with that. He understands that there's a time for playing games. He was just doing it at the wrong time and doing it too much. And
Daniel, what was your goal going into this session with Sean?
To at least reduce the playtime and enhance the amount of time that I committed to bettering myself.
And Morgan, was that the same for you, or did you have different goals going in?
Well, I didn't really know if it was going to work or not. So I guess I was just there to see what was going to happen.
I was curious if, Daniel, if you told us the first time you called that your mom passed away when you were very young. I was curious if that was something you knew was going to come out in this, or you were planning to address.
I don't believe we even addressed it. It's like it wasn't even an issue.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to mention that when we listened to that clip playing the lead-in, when we got down and we sat down and talked about it, it didn't even come up.
Wow.
And I think that, I don't know if Daniel can speak to this, but sometimes the causes of things, which can be a long time ago, actually aren't necessarily the most important thing to discuss if it comes to breaking a habit like this.
Okay.
Because it goes back to what you were saying earlier. The easiest route might be to avoid that and handle what's happening right now.
Right, and that's what, and again, we got a couple of clips, I think, from the session that we're going to play in, and one of the clips that's coming up is really about clarifying the truth about what's going on with his habit, which is that, one thing you can say, you can call it an addiction and he can't quit, but I wanted to cut through that and get to sort of the truth about what was going on. Okay,
so take us inside this session. Take us however you want.
Okay,
chronological order, probably.
Clip number 1, as I have it here in front of me, what we're going to play here is a clip where we talk about goals. Okay, so that's the first thing we want to do. So we can go ahead and play that. What do you want to do for a living? Like, when you're studying this, what do you actually see yourself doing?
I actually wanted to be a nuclear engineer in the Navy.
And because what? What's cool about that?
I don't know. I'd like to be able to get away from the small town.
Yes.
So he wants to be a nuclear engineer, I heard that?
Right, that's what he's in school studying to be.
Okay.
And so I wanted to say, well, what's important about being a nuclear engineer? And he said, well, we've lived in this small town our whole life, and we want to get out of it and go someplace else, someplace different. So it's not just about him quitting video games so that his wife is happy. It's about them being able to realize their dreams, and this is something that's sucking them away from that.
Okay. So then what happens?
Well, then there's another part of it, which is that, okay, now that we've got what his goals are, the other thing that I like to do with people is to help them to be honest about their habit or their problem. Okay? Meaning that if he walks in and he says, I'm addicted, well, that kind of implies that he's not in control. So I need to blast through that and help him to realize, or at least look face to face and say, you know what, I am in control of this. So what I asked him about was this clip that we're going to play here, number 2, is there anything that can stop you from doing this on your own?
I mean, even if I didn't hypnotize you, is there anything that you think could stop you from, like, going to the gym every day?
No.
Okay. Is that what you want?
Yeah.
Okay, it's what you want, and there's nothing that can stop you, right? Okay. You're free to leave. Just kidding.
All right. So, I like to use humor, but the point is that, it's like, when I talk to clients usually and I have them look at it face to face, they go, well, I guess there is nothing stopping me from stopping playing. And that's the first step, because it's not just like I walk them in and hypnotize them and go, now you're free to do this. It's like I want them to see I'm free to do this before I even hypnotize them.
Right. I make a choice to pick up the video game, handheld thing and start going.
Right. I went in and talked to Sean right when I was starting the triathlon training. And I talked a little bit about it on the air, and it's kind of broken up into 2 parts. It's this conversation part that we're hearing right now, which is just stating the obvious that you don't think of. So like when we were talking, he's like, well, what are some of the things you're worried about? And I'm like, well, I have a sweet tooth. I need to eat less sweets and I need to eat more veggies, right? So he just said that I remember him saying, well, is there anybody forcing you to have an ice cream cone or whatever, get an ice cream snack when you're hungry? And I was like, well, nobody's forcing me to. Like, okay, well then, there you go. Then the second part of it is the hypnosis, where he reinforces that. But it's almost
simple, like self-realization.
It's so simple that it's almost weird that when somebody actually says it, like, no, you're not compelled to have cookies in your house. Like, there's no government agency forcing double stuffed Oreos in your cabinet.
Right. Or Call of Duty. It's not forced upon you 6 hours a day.
Right.
People often aren't aware of the types of conversations they're having in their own heads that are creating their reality. So I think we got one more clip that we're going to play from before, which is another one that just reinforces this whole idea. I call this, when I talk to my clients about this, I often call this my, to be radio friendly, my BS detector question. And so I'm just going to go ahead and let this clip play.
If there was some like reality show that called you tomorrow and they said, okay, well, if you get to your goal weight and you avoid playing video games for the next year, we'll give you $10 million. Could you do it?
Yeah, I'd probably sell my Xbox within a day.
What did he say at the end?
He said, yeah, I'd probably sell my Xbox within a day.
Why would you sell it, Daniel? You got $10 million. Give it away.
No, he doesn't have it yet.
Oh, okay.
So it's just about saying, hey, I can do this. It's making the distinction between can I do this and what is in this for me. And in that hypothetical, you're putting out to the client that you can do this. It's just a question of your own motivation.
All right, so let's get into the hypnosis. You take him under.
Right. And so what I do when I hypnotize people, this is a really good illustration because what I do is I help them I'm reinforcing what they do during the session, but I'm also helping them to harness their motivation. Now, during the session, Daniel said something about how good he felt when he used to work out more because he's gained some weight since he started playing video games so much. And so when I hypnotized him, this first clip is about him tapping into the good feelings that he enjoyed when he was working out.
Right now you're relaxing very deeply, and because of that, it's very easy for you to remember, in particular, experiences in which you are motivated, active, and energetic.
Okay, and so I'm curious, is Morgan sitting right next to him when he's hypnotized?
Yeah, she's right over
in
there.
The same
she's
room.
Right over there, just a few feet away.
Okay, cool. Okay, so that's the first thing that happens. Then going deeper into the hypnosis, you're talking about this exercise even more.
Right. So now what we're doing is actually we're skipping forward to reinforcing the idea that we were talking about before with the other clips, which is that he can accomplish these things on his own. He can do whatever he wants.
Okay.
You now hear these words in your mind. I can do anything that I put my mind to. And you hear them fully, clearly, and honestly. And they sound just as true, just as certain, just as honest as your feelings that you have for her. And then you think about her. And you think about you with her. And you see the two of you together, healthy, free, the life of your dreams.
Do you get facial expressions from people when they're thinking about stuff?
Absolutely.
Was he smiling when he was thinking about her?
Like a baby when he's pooping?
Actually, sometimes, yes. Sometimes I get laughs. Sometimes I get big smiles. Sometimes I even get tears from clients during the hypnosis. But Daniel was actually very deeply relaxed, if I recall correctly. And I don't remember seeing any particular expressions on his face other than just, absolute relaxation.
If I was his fiance, I'd be like, you better be smiling when you're thinking about me.
Daniel, what was your experience? How did it feel to you?
It was great, actually. Sean's a great guy. We had a real good conversation beforehand, and then, after the actual hypnosis, it was like just a nice calm feeling whenever we were leaving.
Yeah, so you felt really mellow.
Oh, yeah.
How do you feel now about gaming? Because the session was actually almost 10 days ago.
Yeah. I don't know if it is exactly because of the session, or it's like Sean pretty much he restarted the light of my motivation.
Nice. And
since then,
yeah, since then.
Since then, I've actually spent more time in the gym than I have on my Xbox and computer.
Excellent.
That's
nice.
awesome.
Excellent. That's great to hear, Daniel.
It is funny, you know what? It's funny that the way Daniel set that up, because like I said, when I did the triathlon, the motivation for the triathlon thing, I found myself in the days afterwards, impressed with the process and going, well, I don't know if it was because of the hypnosis, but all I know is that
for sure.
If I had a nickel for every time I heard that from a client.
But all I know is that I was really different after meeting with Sean than before, but I don't know if Sean had anything to do with it or if it was just I don't know.
I'd be happy to let all my clients take all the credit.